Top executives from NPR and PBS were in the congressional hot seat today defending public broadcasting and the need for it. Congressional Republicans blasted the media networks for biased reporting, at one point accusing them of pushing a, quote, communist agenda. One major point of contention is the $535 million in federal funding that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which includes NPR and PBS, as well as member stations, receive each year. KPBS General Manager Deanna Mackey joins us now to discuss potential funding cuts and accusations of a liberal bias in their reporting. Deanna, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so this was a big thing. First question, did you have the opportunity to watch today's hearing?
I was able to watch the first about hour and a half of it.
What are your thoughts of what you saw in that room?
Well, obviously, it's concerning to see our national partners brought to a hearing and have their integrity and the service they provide to the American public called into question. However, we are focused here on KPBS on our local service. We're locally owned and operated, and we know that the news we provide is of interest to both Republicans and Democrats, people across the spectrum. The children's programming and events that we provide, they're actually an alternative to preschool for many low-income families. And we try to bring joy to San Diegans with our arts and culture and things like our One Book, One San Diego project. So it is very concerning, but we are here in San Diego serving San Diegans and staying focused on that.
When you hear your organization being lumped in with all these others and being called biased, pursuing an agenda in your reporting and your programming, what's the gut reaction to that?
I don't think any of us in news are above being reviewed and being called into question about how we approach our editorial processes. While I have complete confidence in KPBS's editorial processes, we are not above question. So if we are asked about a story, we look into it. We take it from the reporter all the way up to the news director, if needed, to assess the question or concern. And if we make a mistake, we are willing to say that, to apologize, and to fix it.
Is there anything that would trigger some insight on your hiring practices and who you have? Just, I think of one moment where they talked about, I believe it was the DC area facilities, where basically everyone they could track as registered Democrats in the office and no registered Republicans. You don't go through that in the hiring process, but does it speak to a need for maybe more different voices and viewpoints in those organizations?
I think it's very important that at the local and national level, that we have staff and we have sources and we are telling stories that tell the full spectrum of the experience, for instance, here in San Diego. So I think it's important that our news and our content represents that.
Is it fair, do you think, to question that and pursue that, though? Is your makeup, are your viewpoints, do you have enough variety to reflect those of the entire community? Is it fair to question those?
We're a community service, so I think it's fair for our community, for San Diego, to expect that KPBS is doing its best to represent the region as wholly as we can. And we do try to do that with our local news service. For instance, we have 2 reporters that cover South Bay and 2 that cover North County in an effort to both cover the metro area, but recognize that this county is much larger than just the city of San Diego.
In that hearing, some of the Republicans were talking about completely dismantling and defunding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. If they started to move forward on that, how soon would the impacts trickle down to you, and what would it mean?
It would be serious. It would happen as soon as this calendar year, toward the end of the year, and it represents 13% of our budget, which is about $4 million. So there would be immediate impacts to our local service as well as to the national service, because stations across the country invest in the national and international programming from PBS and NPR, and they would have to constrict that if the stations didn't have federal funding, because most of that funding goes directly to PBS and NPR for dues.
So is there anything for you to do right now? Nothing's been done yet, but are you taking a look at your organization and looking at where you could either make cuts or possibly pursue more revenue somehow to keep delivering on your mission?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of revenue generating activities and we have diverse revenue activity, which is great. We're diverse revenue sources and we're continuing to invest in those. And then we are looking at our expenses. We're in the process of planning our fiscal year 26 budget. And, we're being conservative in anticipation of this possible cut. But we've also done a lot of signaling value to our community, our audience, our donors. We've sent emails, we've sent letters. I've done spots on TV, we've done promos on our social media, letting people know about our work as an essential public service here in San Diego and letting them know that we are under threat and we might need their help.
And Deanna, I think the last thing I want to ask is, as the leader of the local organization, how is this impacting your employees, the people that work there, their morale?
Well, I appreciate that question. I think it's very hard on the staff to hear a hearing like we just did today that actually was labeled as un-American, as if the work of public media is un-American, when all of us who work at KPBS do it because we believe so deeply in the mission. And our mission is to help people think. Our mission is to help people dream. Our mission is to connect the community. So I think it's hard on everybody, but we are being very cognizant of sharing with our team what's happening and what we're doing to engage community, as well as sharing with them the wonderful emails and letters we're receiving from the community of people telling us they support us, they want us to be around for another 65 years, because this year is our 65th anniversary. So we take a lot of strength from that.
Definitely a challenging time for you and everybody that works there. KPBS General Manager Deanna Mackey, thank you for spending so much time with us today to talk about this. A lot going on. That was quite a contentious hearing. Glad to get your reaction. Thanks for showing up for us.
Thank you.